listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and we have another show lineup for y'all. We have a true powerhouse this morning. I mean, man, when I read her bio, all the great things that she's doing in Florida, wow. I mean, you're talking about someone who's not just a leader in the business world, but when it comes to law and practicing law, she is someone that you really need to know about. Her name is Jane Muir, and she is a prominent Miami business law attorney. And she's doing a lot of amazing business work that we're going to dive right into. So first and foremost, I want to cut to the chase. Welcome, Jane, to the show. I know you're busy. You just came back from a big case winner. So congrats on that. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling pretty tired, but also excellent.
Well, you're doing some excellent work based on what I saw from the email this morning. So congratulations on that. It's a very interesting world, if I can put it that way, when it comes to business and law. You are trusted as a business, like I said, law personnel, if I can call you that, because you know what it takes to win for your clients and to help them in the times that they might be feeling very overwhelmed and pressured with whatever they're going through and bringing to your offices. So kind of touch on what got you into law and how were you able to build such a very powerful and respected practice?
Well, thank you, Shamaya, for having me on your show. I've been a fan for quite some time, and I'm honored to be a guest now. How I got into law really is that it's the family business, to be honest. My mother was a circuit judge and retired in 2021 after a 35-year career. And on my dad's side, my father is a lawyer, my grandfather was a lawyer, going back like 6 generations. So we all are lawyers. My brother is a lawyer. And we feel really strongly about what an honor and an important role lawyers play in society, in America, in supporting the Constitution. And in making sure that the world really follows what basic rules of fairness exist and have been written down into law.
You also have an amazing website that showcases not just what you do for clients, but just very detailed information for anybody who just wants to kind of look around and see what you've been up to. It's jmuirassociates.com that people can go to. But kick off my first question for you. When you look at how experience is key to anybody who wants to be successful in anything in their career or life, what's the most common legal mistake business owners have made based on what you've been able to experience throughout the years helping your clients? And when you think about how they have to deal with those things, what are some of the things that you feel they overlook that gets them into that situation?
Well, I would say, excuse me, most entrepreneurs are optimistic because they had to be optimistic to start a business in the first place, thinking that it would work. So oftentimes what I see is people will start a company and see success very quickly, and their revenue will go very quickly into 6 figures and then hang out at 6 figures for a short while, maybe 3-4 years before they hit 7 figures. And because of their optimism, they think that the same things are going to keep working for them. And I notice that sometimes they put the legal issues to the side and they don't worry so much about making proper contracts with their vendors or their staff people or their clients. They just keep on growing and moving and focusing on marketing and production, and they don't really worry about the administrative issues. And so what typically happens in my clients' experience is they wind up getting sued, or they have some major problem, like a sales rep takes their name and moves to another city and takes the city name and just tacks it on to the name of the company. So they're competing with the same name, even though they didn't build that company and they didn't build that reputation. And once they've had this first bad experience, that's when they start to think, okay, I really do need to look and audit my legal situation and figure out what contracts I need to protect myself.
When you think about how business owners take a look at the world of having someone like yourself represent them, that can be very overwhelming, especially in the beginning if you don't understand anything about law. I mean, let's be honest, not everyone is an expert at this, and that's why people like yourself are there to help them. And to your point, instead of hitting the crisis button, what should new business owners or just maybe established business owners who haven't even got established yet with the law practice, what's some of the things they should do to prevent hitting that panic button when they're in a crisis?
Well, I would say the first thing that matters is you have to find a personality fit for yourself, like birds of a feather kind of thing. And not all lawyers are created equal. And I would say something that, excuse me, something that my clients seem to like is that when they tell me that they are striving to do something, then I'm not automatically saying, nope, you can't do that. It's not allowed. Put a stop to it. It's too risky. I help them figure out what's the best way to do what they're striving to do in a way that kind of minimizes the risk, because really you can't completely eliminate risk. And a lot of lawyers are trying to completely eliminate risk. But if you don't have the bargaining power in your business, like let's say you work for major companies that present you with contracts that have very burdensome terms that you've got to follow, sometimes you just have to kind of sign the bad contract and hope your arrangement will go well, without regard for the fact that there are unfortunately risks. And really, lawyers tend to see only the worst case scenarios, and so they don't always notice the occasions where, you know, you've got two generations of owners of a company who the children grew up together, everybody gets along like family, and they run a successful company with no contracts at all, you know? And that's okay too. There's all kinds of ways to skin the cat, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be identical in every regard. You just have to have certain formalities in order so that everything will be generally secure.
One thing about strategy when it comes to making legal decisions, another question that I have for you is, what are the legal blind spots that founders and creators often miss when that happens? It kind of puts them in a bad situation where they might really need to double down on their options because time at this point is probably running out fast.
Well, the major blind spot I see all the time is partnerships, because people who are friends often will join forces together because they have complementary strengths, and they'll start a company. But if they haven't put all of their rights and responsibilities into an agreement, an operating agreement, a partnership agreement, some kind of statement of who's going to do what, it can really go sour. People who have complementary strengths also often have inconsistent weaknesses. And if they don't respect each other's strengths and weaknesses and how their puzzle pieces, you know, fit together and align to create a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts, then you can see a lot of friction in that kind of situation. I see partnership disputes all the time that come from that kind of personality difference that could be a rocket fuel, you know, and there's a book named Rocket Fuel that talks about how what makes rocket fuel burn so hot is that it's two types of fuel blended together. And the premise of the book is that leadership of a company, you need those two types of people, the integrator and the visionary. And the problem is that those two types, they have different values and different priorities. And when they get into conflict, it can be really expensive and challenging to resolve.
Once again, listen to our Refocus Radio, watching us online and talking to our guest today, Jay Muir. Go, her website is jmuirassociates.com. When you think about contracts, you kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. For those who are watching, listening to this, maybe they're new to business, maybe they're thinking about considering starting business. In plain language, what are some things that every new business owner should understand before signing any kind of contract?
Well, number one, I think everybody needs to have a basic understanding of the concept of liability and what that means. So, for instance, fundamentally it means somebody's responsible in case something goes wrong. And in the beginning of any business, oftentimes you're getting presented with contracts for like a lease of a premises that you think is just regular. Okay, I'm going to pay $1,500 a month for this space or something like that. And you don't think too hard about the terms and conditions that are there along with that, monthly rent number. The problem is that buried in that fine print can be things that will really get you in the long term if something goes south. So it's important to understand that those terms and conditions include things like liability waiver, like somebody who owns a property might say, we're not going to be responsible for anything at all that goes wrong. Or they might require you to indemnify them, which means you've got a responsibility to pay a lawyer and defend them if something happens on their property, and also pay if you have to settle a case or litigate a case. So that those kinds of risks that get buried in agreements that beginners end up signing because they have to are important to be aware of, because they don't have to be such a problem. They can be insured. And then if you've got insurance, you can sidestep the problems that would arise if you weren't covered for those liability risks.
You think about companies who start to grow super fast or just start to see things trending in the right direction as far as putting in position to hire more employees and just do a lot more budgeting or marketing or what have you. When you think about growth, what legal system should be in place before revenue and pressure start to increase? Because the higher you go, obviously the more responsible you have to be with details.
Well, as you scale, there's a saying, new level, new devil, right? And I myself started my firm with not $1 of savings, and we made $350 in our first month, and just grew little by little with one assistant and then one partner, and then just kind of hung out in a mid six figures size firm for, I'd say, a solid 10 years before I saw any significant growth. And I would say that it's important to have the fundamentals in place, the simple things like getting your invoices out. That is the foundation of a business. And everybody loves to read books about business and get into great details. And I am a highly detailed person. But the simple fundamental requirements like perform a service or provide a good and get paid for it, that's really what matters. And you need that system very tight so you can grow. Like incoming clients or customers for that matter? How are you going to keep in contact with them, maintain communication so that they're coming back to you the next time they need your product or service? Keeping them aware of new offers that you're making so that they can come back to you for that too. Once they like you, they're likely to kind of buy other goods and services from you. But keeping that contact with your clients and customers, that's major. And if you want to scale up, you've got to have that organized in a way that you don't have to manually do it so that you can grow.
You're based out in Florida, and as a woman in law and leadership, you've been able to look through your own lens as far as business, law, and building with your community. Your community has been able to know you as a professional and see you grow throughout the years. What have you been able to learn being a woman in business? And what are some of the things that you see in the future that is going to help other women be able to thrive in business as well?
Well, I try not to worry too much about being a woman or being any particular type of person, background, race, religion, all that stuff. Because to me, it's like the only color that matters is green. And that's the money, right? So as long as you're doing great work, the cream rises to the top. And so I encourage anyone who's a woman or a minority in business to overlook the occasions that inevitably happen when you feel like you might have been slighted for a reason. But think of it like it's just that person. It's just this one occasion. It's not like a general problem that I'm facing all the time. And I really try to always be working with people of all kinds. I have numerous men as clients or people who just are nothing like me, much older, different backgrounds. Miami is 70% Latin. I speak fluent Spanish. So I think that it's important to focus on the core of what really matters, which is the quality of your work. And as long as you are focused on the quality of the work, people aren't going to care what you look like or what gender you are or any of that.
Still, the best color is green.
That's right.
That's facts, especially in the United States of America. People love green. So once again, listening, watching Focus Radio, talking to our guest today, Jane Muir, and I didn't want to cut you off, but real quick, when you think about the opportunities of younger people in business, based on what you've been able to learn from your clients, diverse backgrounds of your clients, what would you say to the young next generation of business leaders in the context of how they can stay cool under pressure if they ever in a situation where they have to deal with disputes or major deals?
Well, number one, I would say fake it till you make it, because nobody knows you're not feeling comfortable except you. And so as long as you keep your voice calm, keep your eye focus where you're looking, and keep your body language calm, not too fidgety and not too stressed out looking, nobody else knows that you're freaking out. Like when I started my career 16 years ago, I would go to networking events and I felt very uncomfortable because I felt like I'm on the bottom of a ladder that is 50 years long. And I'm going to be a lawyer for the next 50 years. And nobody has any reason to want to talk to me or listen to what I have to say because I don't know a thing. I have no experience. And I would have physical symptoms of anxiety, like sweating from my armpits, literally, in these parties. So I'd come out of these parties like all sweaty because I was nervous. But nobody else could tell. And what people really like is when you talk about them and ask them about what they're interested in. So there's a fantastic book that is very antique called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so I would say for young people, read that book and fake it till you make it. The other thing I would like to say is that when you're young, you may not have experience, but there are new things being created every day where nobody has experience in them. And that gives you an edge because you are smart and you're fast and you can learn something new that somebody else may not bother learning about because they're already so experienced that they won't get into it. So like an example, when I started my practice, search engine optimization was a new thing. And I read some books about it and I learned that you just have to like type in what a picture is of and describe what an article is about and the keywords behind the scenes of your website. And I would personally type those things into my website. And I beat a lot of older, more respected, more prominent law firms in search because I was just more knowledgeable about that and they hadn't bothered to learn about it yet. And the other thing I did was, remember when Siri first came out? I don't remember what year it was, but I think it was like 2012 or 13. It would use data from Yelp to tell you the answer to your question. So you'd say, hey, Siri, find me a Mexican restaurant near me or something like that. And Siri would say, I found such and such near you. Well, I was getting my friends, because I didn't have any experience either, to write me nice reviews on Yelp. And I was the first lawyer in my community that was putting a page up on Yelp. And so when Siri started pulling that data, you would say, hey, Siri, find me a lawyer. And it would say J. Muir. So you can definitely overcome the fact that other people in your area of expertise are more experienced than you just by being closer to the newest thing. And AI is the newest thing, and it's not easy to use, and it does make a lot of mistakes that you have to be aware of. But if I were a young person, I would be leaning in hard to things like AI that are so new that nobody has an advantage in that area yet.
Yeah, I had to chime in on this AI thing because me personally, I love it, man. I know that some people have their concerns about it, and I think they're legit. I think there's definitely concerns, but I think realistically, there's concerns about any topic you can throw in the hat. Like, you just pick your topic, and I'm pretty sure somebody on the East Coast, West Coast is going to say, hey, there's a concern there. But in terms of the potential of AI, I have so many cool people on the show that are like tech geeks and experts in the industry, consulting, blah, blah, blah. And what I learned in 2025 alone, just by talking to some people in the industry, is that the more you build your AI as tools and create systems for you, whether it's like your personal brand, like say you're a TikTok person. I'm trying to graduate from that school, man. I'm so like aging right now. Is like, man, these young kids are like killing it, man, on the TikTok world. But there's so many resources to use AI to educate yourself. I mean, I have a paid subscription for ChatGPT, so it has a feature where you can literally talk to it, video or audio, and it literally in real time search internet and gives you information. I can say, hey, who's playing right now, or playing this weekend for NFL, or who's playing tonight for the NBA. And it's like Siri, it just boom, boom, boom. But I like about it though is how deep you can go with it. Like, it will give me the logos, the times, the channels will be on. So it's not like it was maybe a year ago where it was kind of like just everyone's prompt this and prompt that, prompt this and prompt that. Now it's like very deeper. You literally have like your own assistant. But to land the plane, what I'm saying is a lot of experts I had on, they're saying if you create with AI, like it's part of your team, now you can create like 4 or 5 different employees of helping you build your blueprint, not necessarily a genie in the bottle and you make a wish, and all of a sudden you rolling in dough and green money. But it's more of building systems that, just like to your point with Yelp, that at one point in time wasn't available for all business owners, but you took advantage early and you're reaping the results of that.
Exactly. So I would say it's important to think about the risks in any situation, but yeah, you can build a business so much easier now. When I started practicing, you still had to physically walk a piece of paper to the clerk's office and get a stamp to get it filed. Now we get to electronically file, and there have been so many innovations in the last 16 years that we're trying to stay cutting edge. Like in our firm, we have a few things that are automatic now that used to have to be a person, like taking a document, putting it in the folder, but it's happening just by automation with Zapier or with, we have Claude, ChatGPT, LexisNexis has an app called Protege that is their version of kind of ChatGPT, but it's based in all the real law that those apps don't get to access. We have the Westlaw version. And we have a full-time software engineer who's based in New Mexico, working with our firm to help us put all this stuff into practice so that we can just do the work that we love. Because, in law, there is a lot of administrative work, filing things, organizing things. It's very tedious. And we lawyers, what we really love to do is counsel our clients and think about challenging problems and find solutions and advocate for our clients' positions. And boy, you get lost in all the nitty gritty organizing things. And I think AI is going to really help reduce the amount of tedious kind of data entry work that we used to have to do.
For your point, when you talk about someone on the team that's actually helping you organize the data for AI to read and to use, that's next level. That is the graduation from someone who's just interested in typing the prompt and versus someone who actually is going very deep into it and organizing like your moves and tools that you're trying to do for your organization. That's the next level. So if you're a business owner and you heard this episode, make sure you send it to a friend, because I think this is something that people are starting to talk about it. But about a year ago, we had some AI fever. And it was like, man, where do we start? It's like an ocean trying to drink through a straw. Like, it's just never going to happen. We're just too much information. But once again, listen, I'm Focus Radio and watching this online, talking to our guest today, Jane Muir. Go to her website. It's super easy, jmuirassociates.com. I know people like to get off this AI. I'm really not, because it is the future. And I think it's very important, but I want to tie it to my next question. With understanding how important technology is hard to keep up with, but we know how important it is to stay on top of it. Real quick, what are some, or what's a myth that you see floating around on social media or hear people talking about in regards to law? And can you bust one that people in our audience can be more educated on and understand?
Well, I would say it's a myth that you have to be more experienced to be qualified. And I wish I had realized that was a myth when I was beginning my career, because truly I believed that the years of experience were what mattered more than anything. And now I think that what matters most is your sort of CPU, like how fast does your brain think? And then secondly is your communication ability. Your, like, how well do you explain the things that your fast CPU has figured out,
One more follow on that is my last question for today is, when is there a particular sign that an individual can notice that, you know what, it's probably time I need to talk and get a lawyer, because if I don't, that window of opportunity might close. Is there a particular time that you like to suggest that people contact you? Because you're based in Florida. If people want to contact you, is there particular signs where they need to seize the moment and do it before it's too late?
New Year. It's like going to the doctor for your annual checkup. Just sit down with a lawyer. It can be 30 minutes or an hour. Just talk about your business and what you're facing, and let them figure out what all issues that you may need to plug up some holes in. Because really, it's an ongoing conversation that should be happening at least once a year, but ideally quarterly, where you're just cleaning up the administration of your company so that you're not going to be vulnerable to liability risks.
Well, once again, watching us and listening to us online, I'm Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Jane Muir. Go to her website. It is jmuirassociates.com. Again, that's jmuirassociates.com. If I didn't cover something that you want to have covered on the show for our listeners and our viewers, is there anything coming up in the future, events or updates that you want to share with our audience?
Well, as for an update, I would say I'm proud to announce that we won a jury verdict this week, $6.3 million in damages. And we love trying cases at our firm. So if you have a complicated case that's likely to go to trial, then I hope you'll consider our firm as a candidate to represent you.
And if someone is in Florida right now and they're like, wow, well, I need to speak Gonzalez and I need a caller or I need to do whatever I need to contact her ASAP, what's the best and fastest way that they can be in touch with your team?
You can call our office at 786-533-1100 and talk to our team members who will set you up for a consultation. Or we have a chat bot on our website also that's very quick, but talk to one of our team members, I think, is the best way.
So once again, I want to say to Jane, I call you Jay, but Jane Muir, once again, we'll say for you, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shemaya.